Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger. Up next on the GM, Ravens versus Seahawks. Keys to victory. Do me a quick favor, hit like. If it is your first time checking out the GM, hit subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. So, Ravens versus Seahawks has the potential to be a high-scoring affair. Why? Well, both of these teams come in averaging upwards of 25 to 27 points per game, which in the world of football, that's not the highest, of course, that you can score, but that is pretty good offensive production. That's basically 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, right? Both of these teams come in with somewhat solid defense as it pertains to points allowed. The Seahawks allow 19 points a game, and the Baltimore Ravens allow about 15 points per game. So as you see, these teams are evenly matched on paper. Now let's talk about some specifics to Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks offense has the potential to be high scoring. They've scored over 30 points, I think at least 3 times this year out of the 7 games they've played. And then they've scored in the mid-20s a couple of times. And then they had one game where it was an absolute flop. But with all of that said, they do have the potential to put up points. They have the potential to go deep. And their ability to throw the deep ball has me concerned. And part of the reason why is that, with the deep ball, you have the potential to flip the field and to score quickly. And also, another element of the deep ball is the pass interference. There's nothing worse than having a team 3rd and 10, and then they throw the ball 20 yards, 25, 30 yards downfield, and they get a pass interference, and the drive continues. And you guys know how that has been for the Ravens. That ends up into the other team scoring a touchdown. So their ability to throw the deep ball does have me a little bit concerned, okay? Also, they are a solid running team. They average about 4.4 yards per carry, and that's between Walker, who is the leading back, and then Geno Smith, who has the ability also to move with the ball. And then they have a third back. I can't remember his name, but they all have the potential to get loose with the ball a little bit. And now they're not a dominant run team, but they're a solid running team. Okay, and so they have some elements offensively that do have me a little concerned. And the Baltimore Ravens do struggle with a mobile quarterback. Okay, Geno Smith is not what you would call a dual threat guy, but he does have good feet. He does. He does have good speed. He does have an ability to take the open field and pick up 10, 12 yards on a run, get down and get back to the line of scrimmage. And so I think that we have to set the edge. We have to be mindful of what the Seattle Seahawks are trying to do. The Seattle Seahawks defense, they do have a really good corner. They have really good safeties, and they have a pretty solid linebacking core led by no other than Bobby Wagner, who is still getting it done even into his mid-30s. And then their defensive front is coming along. So they're solid, man, on both sides of the ball, in the trenches, in the middle of the defense, in the secondary. And they have a lot of skill and a lot of talent at a lot of positions. Okay. So when we think about the Baltimore Ravens and what we bring to the table, well, we bring an offense that has the potential to be explosive, but sometimes it's hard for them to find themselves. Sometimes it's hard for the Baltimore Ravens offense to be consistent. Okay. And we understand that. And so defensively, I think we bring the best defense that the Seahawks will face all year. Seahawks, as a whole, both defensively, they're not as good on the road as they are at home. I believe, in fact, that the 2 losses that they do have did come on the road. And so I think that we're going to provide the best defense they've seen from front to back, especially with our interior linebacking corps being the best in the league. And so how can Baltimore come out with a win? Okay. Well, first and foremost, like I start every week, we have to stop the run. And I think this week that begins with setting the edge. Walker is a running back who likes to run off tackle, whether it is to the left or to the right. He runs with some power. He does have some speed. And so we have to be willing to set the edge consistently, whether that's Odafe, whether that's Tavius Robinson, whether that's Jadeveon Clowney or Kyle Van Noy. Set the edge and keep that running back stringing out the play until our linebackers can get there. I think that is number one. And then also the interior of our defense has to come with it this week. We cannot afford to get pushed around this week in the trenches because, like I said earlier, this offense does have the potential to be explosive. Not 100% sure what DK Metcalf's status is going to be for this week, but yet and still Jackson and Jigba and also Tyler Lockett are still more than capable of stretching the field and making big plays. So we have to make this team one-dimensional. So start in the trenches, setting the edge and stopping the run. That's number one. Number two, I think just like last week, we have to get a pick or two. Parts of every game that we've had, there has been deflections, there's been batted balls that could have turned into interceptions for us. And I think when those balls are tipped and batted this week, I think we need to come away with those interceptions. I think that we need to limit their ability to keep drives alive. And so I think that that's going to be my key number two for the Baltimore Ravens defense. When you get your hands on the ball, whether it's tip or pass deflection, if there's an opportunity to pick it off, let's go ahead and pick that ball off and give our offense another crack at putting points up. Key number three, I think it's going to be maximizing our man-to-man coverage. Our zone coverage last week was horrible. And I don't know who the tight end is for the Seattle Seahawks, but the tight end last week for the Arizona Cardinals was open consistently throughout that game. With this level of offensive talent, they're not going to miss those throws. Geno Smith is playing good ball, has for the last year and a half, and I don't think he's going to miss those open receivers. So we have to be good in man-to-man coverage and show Geno Smith some different looks. We can't just come out with man-to-man and not run some zone, but I think we need to limit our zone and show more man-to-man and maybe even be able to press at the line of scrimmage. I think Brandon Stevens is playing good ball. He's a longer cornerback. I think he's about 6 foot, 6'1". He should be able to press up at the line of scrimmage. Tyler Lockett is typically in the slot, although he can play outside. That'll be a nice matchup for a guy like Kyle Hamilton or either Arthur Millette. So I think that being able to press those guys at the line of scrimmage and then mixing in some underneath coverage will be a good look for the Baltimore Ravens defense this week. And last, we're going to jump to the offensive side of the ball. Just like we need to stop the run, we need to establish the run this week. I think that we need to allow them to see that we are multi-dimensional offense. I think that coming out, running the ball downhill, in more of a fast pace. I would love to see them pick up the pace in week number 9, where Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, and even Lamar Jackson on occasion can break off a big run and get right back to the line of scrimmage and press this defense a lot, because their linebacking corps led by Bobby Wagner is a really good defensive group. I would also like to see a mixing in of Keaton Mitchell. I did see him practice full on Thursday, so he should be available for this game. I think that tossing him a couple of balls, pitching him a couple of balls, I think will be a good change of pace for this this Sunday's game. And it's pretty clear. The one carry that he did have, you could definitely see his speed on full display. And I think that he could be a nice surprise, a nice boost for this Baltimore Ravens offense in week 9. So that's number 1. Number 2, catch the catchable. Okay. Now, Not every ball that a quarterback throws is going to be catchable. It's not going to always be in your area code. Sometimes it's going to be too high. Sometimes it'll be too low. Sometimes it'll be out of bounds. And then other times it'll just be a flat out throwaway. So when I say catch the catchable, meaning if the ball is in your area code, Mark Andrews, Odell, Bateman, Aguilar, Zay, catch those balls, especially if the ball hits your hands. Bring that ball in. We cannot afford tip balls that turns into interceptions. We cannot afford a 3rd and 7 and the ball hits your hands and it falls to the ground, those kind of things. If the ball is catchable, we have to make those catches. I think the Baltimore Ravens need somewhere around to win this game. I think we need to be between 250 and 280 yards in the passing game, with no less than 3 touchdowns. I'll give you my final prediction here in a second. And key number 3, which is something that I've been saying from the beginning of the year, it's been a consistent problem, is improve our communication. Make sure we know where we're going when we break that huddle. Make sure, talk it up. You know, Lamar Jackson has to command this offense. Ask his receivers, do you know where you're going to end up? Do you know where you're going? Are you cutting out? Are you cutting in? You know, talk about the tendencies. If Lamar Jackson would rather throw the ball inside, then the wide receiver needs to break inside if coverage is tight. So what I'm speaking about is making sure that we're communicating. We've seen every week in this season where there has been a pass that's going out when the receiver cuts in. We've seen a pass going in when the receiver is cutting out. We're seeing a pass that's going deep when the receiver pulls up. So we have to make sure that we're communicating so that we know exactly what's happening on the offensive side of the ball. We are going into week 9. It is now time to develop a level of consistency, because from this point on, our schedule only becomes more competitive. Now, we've had some games we should have just ran away with, and we didn't. We should have ran away with the Colts game. We didn't. Should have ran away with the Pittsburgh game, and we didn't. And we actually should have ran away with the game last week, and we didn't. And so we just by poor execution and things of that nature, we let teams stay in the game. And so when you look at the rest of our schedule, you got Seattle this week, a winning team. You got Miami near the end of the year, a winning team. You got San Francisco, who is struggling right now. They're falling on hard times, but still a winning team. You got Jacksonville in the near future, a winning team. You got Pittsburgh. I think they just won last night, a winning team. You got the Bengals coming up, who is still a winning team. They're coming on as of late. So out of the next 9 games, 6 teams are winning. So now it is time to put on our best effort. It's time now not to have those lulls. I think that we need to put points up on the board at about an 80% clip, whether that's field goals or touchdowns. When we get the ball and we move it into the red zone or scoring range, red zone inside the 20, scoring range inside the 30, we need to put points up on the board. We cannot get sacked out of field goal range. We cannot throw interceptions in field goal range or scoring range. We cannot fumble the ball. We have to be able to maintain control of that possession and put points up, especially as we begin to get more competitive. And then the bonus key to victory is make sure that our coaches make good calls. Be able and be willing to make adjustments. If the run game isn't going early, let's find ways to make the passing game effective. If the passing game isn't going early and the run game is, be okay with going to that. Make good decisions. And by all means, Todd Monken, stop calling those crazy wide receiver screens. Those things have not worked yet. And so make good calls. Mike McDaniel, Mike McDonald. I can't ever remember our defensive coordinator's name. Anyway, Mike, mix up some coverage. Show Geno Smith different looks. You can't come out only in man. You can't come out only in zone. Be willing to mix that up, right? And if one's not working, move on from it, right? And by all means, keep Marcus Williams on the bench. He just now started to practice this week again. He's not ready. And I would just make a plan as a coach that what, we're just gonna hold Marcus Williams over here with us until after the bye week. So that way we can figure out what he really can and can't do while he's on the field. So listen, those are my keys to victory. I predict that the Ravens win 27-17, 30-23, something like that. And we get out of this game 7-2. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and we are out.